From here on out, our conversations are going to end, Tom, with me asking you the line of rookie starting quarterbacks in week 1 of the NFL 2025 season is 2.5. You need to tell me when we're going over. Because right now I'm assuming it's Cam Ward. I'm assuming it's Tyler Shuck. I'm going to ask you, are we still under or we're over? Right? Because you're under right now, 2.5.
Well, as Brockman knows well, I can't give gambling advice.
It's not gambling.
Honestly,
it's not gambling.
We would
it's
never
not
ask
gambling.
for it.
I'm just using gambling terms to step this up. You and I both have the same restrictions. You and I both have the same, overlords. Okay.
There we go. I just want that graphic put up to make clear.
There it is. Okay.
Definitely not.
I wanted to make clear.
Definitely not.
We got your back, or in this case, your chest. Okay.
Under right now.
We're under.
Under right now, because I would say a couple of things. Yes, Cam Ward, even though he's not been named the starter, barring an injury or something completely unforeseen, I anticipate him being the starter for the Titans.
Okay.
Tyler Shuck certainly seems to be in line to be, have a good opportunity to be the starter in New Orleans, but Spencer Rattler has some really big fans. I'm just telling you, not just, from the people in the building now, but last year's coaches, from other people in the league who have watched him. I'm really interested to see when it's Shuck versus Rattler, what happens, assuming that is the line along with Jake Haener, who right now is sidelined. What's it going to look like? How are they going to divide the reps between those guys? Because Rattler played some, and he showed flashes. He also had some bad moments, but I would not totally write off Spencer Rattler yet. And then in terms of everybody else, Mike McDonald flat out said it's not going to be Jalen Milroe in Seattle. They paid Sam Darnold. That's not a surprise. In Cleveland, everybody's talking about Shedeur Sanders.
That's
the guy
right.
they drafted in the 3rd round is Dylan Gabriel. We got to see how they're lining up. I know that there's already a lot of people, talking and posting stuff, the passing stats and, whatever here. We are so early in the process. Having said that, it doesn't sound like Shedeur Sanders has done anything to hurt himself so far in Cleveland. It's just, it would be a really unusual situation for a rookie 5th-round pick to win a job, especially when, by virtue of their actions, the Browns didn't even think he was the better of the two between him and Dylan Gabriel. So that would be the other one to, potentially watch as we move through this thing. Jackson Dart, of course, is another one with the Giants. It seems like they want to be really cautious in terms of making sure they're bringing him along the right way. We also all know, I'm not breaking news here by saying there's a level of pressure and expectation around the Giants right now. If they feel like the guy that gives them the best chance to win when they get to the end of the preseason, Rich, is Jackson Dart, I don't think that they would hesitate to put him out there. Right now, the plan remains Russell Wilson. We'll see how long that lasts.
Yeah, well, all due respect to Jackson Dart and, Jalen Milroe, this is really a cutesy way for me to ask you, is Shedeur starting for the Browns? So this is going to be a shorthand end of our conversations from here on out, okay? Over, under, you're not giving gambling advice.
Definitely not giving gambling advice, but I would
Tom, thank you very much. Tom Pelissero. Check out The Insiders with the rest of the Insiders on NFL Network and NFL Plus. It's not NFL Minus. All right, Tom Pelissero. So now that leaves us with what? A big void, huh? Now,
are you asking me, Rich, what I'm going to fill the Insiders with every weeknight at 7 p.m. on NFL Network for the foreseeable future?
No, because I know it's going to be filled with guys who are waiting for a contract extension and are toying with the idea of not being there when they have to be to make a point. Obviously, Trey Hendrickson leads that list. It appears Terry McLaurin may be on that list. This man's Lion from Penn State over there, TJ Jefferson's Micah Parsons, says, I'm showing. It's really on Jerry. I want to win. He seems like to be a happy-go-lucky hold-inner, So did I kind of nail it or what? Did I miss anything? Tom?
That is certainly a big part of the list. It's not just whether guys will show up, but to your point, are you guys actually going to participate in practice? And every year we have a dozen or so players who don't end up doing that. It is Trey Hendrickson. At this point, I'm not anticipating that anything gets done there prior to minicamp. Micah Parsons has already said himself that he's going to show up regardless. Is he actually going to do anything on the field? I don't know, but he and his agent are not big on giving up money for no reason, so I anticipate Micah is at least going to be in the building here. You've got other big deals potentially getting done, guys like Aiden Hutchinson. I would fully anticipate Aiden Hutchinson is there with the Lions next week. You got some quarterback deals that potentially could get done here. We know Eric DeCosta said recently they've had initial conversations with Lamar Jackson. That quarterback market has taken off so much. You know, Lamar is barely even in the top 10 at this point, depending how you slice the numbers in terms of average per year. He's got 3 years left on his contract. We know that Lamar historically has never been a rush to do anything, but he's due $43.5 million this year. If there's an opportunity to bump him up to where those top quarterbacks are while also extending that contract from the Ravens' perspective, there might be a win-win that can be found in there. And then probably the biggest one, and one that was directly impacted, Rich, by the Aaron Rodgers news, is what happens here with Kirk Cousins. And is the answer, after all the speculation, all the reports, all the logic you can apply to the situation, is the answer really going to be nothing happens and he is a $27.5 million backup in 2025? At this point, there's not a clear place for Kirk Cousins to go. The Falcons have made abundantly clear that they're not releasing him. If they were going to do that, they would have done that back in March. It didn't happen. He now not only has the 27.5 fully guaranteed this year, he's got another $10 million guaranteed in 2026, albeit subject to offsets. But so any team even trading for him is taking on $37.5 million for a player who is battling a lot. Kirk Cousins was pretty banged up last season, but ultimately got benched in favor of Michael Penix Jr. That is a storyline, Rich, that probably now is not going to be resolved, I wouldn't think, prior to training camp. But the moment that somebody hits their thumb on a helmet, the moment that somebody pulls up lame with a hamstring, the moment anything happens to any quarterback, the first question is going to be, is this the team that trades for Kirk Cousins? And the caution that I would lend to that is the deeper into it that we get, the further into training camp and the preseason, the more that Kirk Cousins, a guy who is due this money regardless of whether he's playing or not, and has family in Atlanta and is raising his kids in Atlanta, might be pretty reluctant to go, all right, this guy got hurt in the second preseason game. I'm going to pack up and move to City X, move my family, and go in and try to learn a playbook and learn my teammates quickly here. I don't know that he's going to do that, and he's got a no-trade clause. So, again, we'll be talking about Kirk Cousins a lot once injuries inevitably hit that position. But we really now are into territory with Aaron Rodgers agreeing with the Steelers where Kirk Cousins might be the Falcons' backup unless and until an opportunity arises through injury or otherwise for him to actually step in the lineup and play football for the Falcons again.
See, and here's okay, so much that you just said about Cousins. I mean, let's have the real conversation here too, Tom. Number one, forget the economics of it. They're not releasing him because if they just released him, right? Just to say, you know, we're going to do right by we'll go into the season without you, even though we're already budgeted for it. Because if they release him in the spot that might take him on the spot is New Orleans, and that very, very, very warm place has got to freeze over. I'm just sitting, you know, right now thinking about that. Maybe Minnesota would take a shot, you know, just to have him back there with JJ getting the gig. Although that might, you know, create
hard
some
dynamic.
Yeah, it's a hard dynamic.
Sure.
But from what you just said there, that Cousins might not be willing to go someplace if things, you know, remain status quo too deep. Sounds like a warning shot from his camp to tell the Falcons, be careful, man, because if you want this money off the books, if you've been, you know, playing chicken with us this entire time, we might roost, you know?
Think about it this way. If we're just talking logically here, if you're Kirk Cousins, his first year in Minnesota, you remember, was bumpy. The whole season. They missed the playoffs coming off an NFC Championship appearance. It took time. He obviously got better thereafter. They went to the playoffs. They had a playoff win. You go to his first year in Atlanta. Clearly, a really bumpy ride. There's something to be said for any quarterback. I mean, even Aaron Rodgers stepping into Pittsburgh here. There's growing pains that you're going to have to go through. And as much as Aaron Rodgers may not believe there's any value in the spring, if you're Kirk Cousins and being told, all right, let's say a team that he does, and I don't want to say a specific team and jinx some fan base here, but let's say some team that runs a completely different offense loses their quarterback and go, all right, we're going to bring in Kirk Cousins now. Does Kirk actually want to go?
Right.
If this is maybe, you know, late July is even different than end of August, September, October. Does he want to go in and do that? That would be an honest conversation. I haven't talked to Kirk about it. I don't know that he would necessarily veto trades at a certain point.
Can he do that? Let me just jump in. He has the right to veto a trade, Tom?
He has a no-trade clause.
Okay,
so
wow. He's got some cards.
if the Falcons were going to work with Kirk Cousins to facilitate a trade, they would have done this in February and March. So it's not as if a spot opens up and suddenly Kirk just is going to say, all right, Falcons are going to hold him hostage. Like, when the Eagles got a first-round pick for Sam Bradford because Teddy Bridgewater blew out his knee, that was a function of Howie Roseman and Rick Spielman, who knew each other well, being like, all right, realistically, you don't have a quarterback. I'm going to get this, and so we got to get this thing done quickly. And they moved very quickly, and they acquired Sam Bradford on cut-down day. I mean, those things can happen, but when you have a no-trade clause, it does raise the specter of Kirk Cousins saying, you know what? I don't really want to move my family to City X in October and then just hope I can microwave the rhythm and timing and tempo that it takes to succeed in an NFL passing offense. Again, I'm not saying he wouldn't do it. I'm just saying that is certainly realistic and logical from Kirk Cousins' perspective. If I'm going to make the same exact money to be in Atlanta, at least a system I know, maybe something happens to Michael Penix and I get to play here versus going into a place you don't know the players, you don't know the coaches, you don't know the system, and try to pick it up midstream without even an off season. Kirk Cousins' own experience, Rich, would tell you that that might not be an instantaneous yes.
Okay.
Xin cho mình tiếp tục móc và cứ móc luân phiên như vậy là được, móc nốt cái khúc này cũng như vậy nhé, tiếp xuống. Tiếp nữa này, cái làm mà luân phiên cho mình. Mũi tiếp theo mũi nữa này, tay mình sẽ móc vòng quanh cái mũi, tiếp tục móc xuống nhé. Mình cứ móc lần lượt cho đến hết.